Maythorn Mondays here. Explore and travel far and wide. Let's put the show in gear.
The sun is shining on us once again. I'm at the new Ferry Butterfly Park. We haven't seen a lot of butterflies, but it's a very pleasant strip of land alongside the railway and a nice place to be on a sunny afternoon. So it doesn't really matter much about the butterflies. We've seen one or two, and we're not butterfly experts, so that wasn't one of those things. As you gathered, we've been in Telford for a few days, and I've got to move on now. I've already been up to Burnley to see my friend Steve, and there wasn't much for me to do there because he has been doing all the videoing, but also he got one of his men to do all the talking as well. If you remember, there was an area that was always flooded, and we were calling it the swimming pool. Well, that is the cellar. And he's now starting work on the cellar with a new team of a couple of men who are going to make it into a proper cellar, drain all the water and all that. And I'm not going to tell you about that because he got his man on the job to do that for me.
Hi, so when we first arrived here at Steve's property, there was water ingress and a lot of cracking in the slab. So our first point of works was to remove the slab to see why it was cracking. On that, we come across the middle here where there was quite a substantial crack. It was only an inch of concrete in places. And over here against the edge, that was how much, you only had about 30 mil of concrete in areas. So we dug all that out, removed it outside, ready to be removed from site, from a grab. Once we removed all the concrete and we were back down to the sub-clay base, it was way out of level, so we got our laser level out, did all our checks, dug a 125 out of the centre, hence why the footings, the step footings are on show as of now. Once we got the levels and we'd done all the checks, we were happy. We installed the reinforced A393 mesh, tied together with rebar tyre on 50 mil spacers. The next phase was the starter bars for the retaining wall. So the next phase was remove the retaining wall, block retaining wall that had severe cracks in several places. So we removed that, and once we'd done that, we were able to tie our starter bars onto the slab mesh. And once they were plumb and level and we put a brace in, we installed 4-foot rebars driven into the retaining earth, and then we managed to stand the mesh up plumb and level, tied off that. We also drilled and anchored in some resin anchored some 12 mil bar into the wall to stop it from, it's tied in now from 3 points, floor point and both corners of the wall. So once we'd finished the work to the retaining wall, it was time to form our perimeter shutter, ready to take the perimeter drainage channel. So as you can see, it works its way around over there to a sump chamber that we've installed at the finished floor height. So once today we've done the pour of the slab, it'll be time to remove these and start our work on our shuttering on our retaining walls. So what we've been doing for the last few days is building these shutters, ready for the concrete to be cast in one to form a nice uniform, strong, well-built retaining wall here, which will be over 350mm with the mesh that we put in previously. As you can see here, we've got a chute made. For the concrete, there'll be a barrow from the top, barrow at the bottom, chute down, easy, nice pull, vibrate, float up, let it go off then, and then we can strip the shutters in a few weeks, next week hopefully.
Right, I'm going to look at some of my own properties now, and this is Trythin in North Wales, where Bob, I was showing you earlier, was actually creating loads of dust as he got rid of all the old mortar from these bricks. And over the last month we've had a couple of return visits to finish off the pointing, with the latest one this week having lots of attention from the birds who had been nesting in the roof next door. So there's the finished results on that side wall. We'll have to do the front wall some other time. Colin sent me these pictures from Bulgaria to show how my house there is getting on. You'll see where the water feed comes into the house just outside the bathroom in the kitchen area, and it comes through the wall, and there is where the hot water tank will be installed. And if you follow some of the other pipes, they've been buried in the concrete, they've been put up against the wall, depending on what the finishing touches are going to be. We have cold water coming through, as was demonstrated there, and hot water when we've got the tank. Over on the other end, where the main bathroom will be, there's provision for plumbing and waste going through to the kitchen on the other side of this wall. Stefan finishing off a little plastering. He'll be doing more of that in future weeks. And here's how it looks on the kitchen side, where it all comes through, and that is quite a long way off yet, putting a kitchen in. Back at home, I've been running an advert on Spare Room for one of my rooms in the Wallasey HMO. This one was abandoned by the previous tenant. It was rent day. The rent didn't come through, so I went to see what was going on, and she'd done a bunk and left it in quite a state. I ran the advert straight away as soon as I realised the room was empty, but it was going to take us a few weeks to sort out all the mess that had been left behind, so I set a forward date saying the room was available a few weeks ahead. Tenants are supposed to clean the room and keep it in the condition which they found it, and a quick look round here will show that no cleaning was ever done. She'd been drying clothes on this radiator, which has a do not cover sticker on it, and I'm guessing that they started to smoke by the damage on the wall, and we're now having to replace that heater. Apparently she was too lazy to go down to the kitchen and prepare food and to wash up, and the evidence here is that she was washing up her dishes in the shower. As you can see, all that was left exactly as it was the last time she did it, and although she took all her main possessions, she didn't bother to empty any drawers or clear up any of the mess on the floor, never mind do any cleaning, and we had quite a lot to deal with. We even found one of the ceiling strips from the shower just left on the floor and rather bent. These are the pictures after we'd done the remedial work and everything is back ready to be advertised again. Bob repainted the walls and the ceiling in the various colours, white and the contrast colour. And I had to reprogram the wireless switches that turn on the room lights and the shower lights separately. As is our practice these days, we replaced the heater with a new infrared one. These are far more efficient. They heat the room extremely fast and they cost about half the amount of electricity to run. We're also now fitting bedside lamps in our rooms that are operated by touch. In Chester, if you've been following this story, you'll know that we had to take down a load of trees and all the dead wood was taken away in a skip. Bob came back then to try and reassemble the fence that was knocked down by the trees, and this was the neighbour's fence we were repairing, and he asked us to reuse the concrete panels that had been there for decades. We only managed to find a few that weren't broken, but we did use those, and we bought new fence posts to put them into. Unfortunately, these old concrete panels are too wide for the slots in the modern posts, so they had to be trimmed as well. Once we'd finished doing what we could, the neighbour wasn't happy with it at all, and so we agreed to come back at a later date and do it our way. In the meantime, another one of our rooms in the Wallasey HMO had gone empty, and this was left in a much better condition. Needed a fair bit of cleaning, particularly in the ensuite areas, but we were ready for that, and we already had some improvements in mind before we let our next tenant in. I'd never been happy with the plastering under the bay window, so Bob said the best thing to do would be to cover it up with some plasterboard and then skim that and paint it. Traditionally, landlords have painted all the walls in their rooms with magnolia paint, but we've moved away from that now, and this is the last of my rooms that I've actually had the walls painted white. We already had a tenant lined up for this room, and he had told me when he came to view that one of his favourite colours was purple, so we got a purple colour specially mixed for him down at B&Q. We already had a feature colour in this room on one of the walls, and the purple went over it, and we only needed one coat. While we're looking at the progress with the plastering under the window, take a quick look at the carpet. It dates back to 2013, and it's actually quite thin because they told us that bedroom carpets didn't have high wear. We forgot that people are going to live in these rooms, so it's seen better days. So with all the painting done and the cleaning in the ensuite areas, and also we replaced the toilet seat, that always seems a good move for hygiene reasons, and then we moved on to the carpet, which meant taking out all the furniture and revealing the bare floorboards. At any point in the future, anyone who bought this house could actually sand these down and restore them, but we believe in trying to keep the noise down from the upstairs rooms, so we always carpet in the bedrooms. As you can see, a good carpet transforms the room, but it was actually twice as thick as the old carpet, and the entrance door didn't fit that well over it. But don't worry, Bob was on hand to come and scrape a little bit off the bottom. And that only left us to put back the furniture. We give every room an easy chair, a chest of drawers, a bedside table, and of course a double bed. And now we're heading back to Chester to do the fencing our way. I was using Ruth's car to transport the fencing panels because it has a roof rack, and we couldn't find the rope, so I had to go and buy some straps, some ratchet straps, which I hadn't a clue how to operate. When I arrived at the house with the fencing panels and the concrete bits, Bob was already making preparations in the ground and digging the holes. Due to a hidden concrete base, which is quite well underground, we can't let the full height of the posts remain, so we have to lob a bit off the top. As most people will know, you put these posts in and fill the hole with postcrete, which is a fast-setting cement concrete. You're supposed to put the water in first and then add the powder. We don't always do it that way, but Bob decided to follow the instructions on the tin on this occasion. As you can see from the neighbour's side of the new fence, his concrete panels are still in place. started off this little property feature in the new Ferry Butterfly Park. Before we left, we had a bit of a wander round. It's alongside Bebington Station on the Merseyrail line from Liverpool to Chester. And although it's called a butterfly park, the guy did explain that there's lots of other wildlife here and perhaps not so many butterflies at the moment. It is a place where the locals come and bring sandwiches and have a bit of a picnic, so it's used as an ordinary park as well. There's a few other attractions here, and of course it's a narrow strip of land, used to be a goods yard, and therefore occasionally you will see trains going by. Cheshire Wildlife Trust have leaflets of various types that you can take away with you, some of them about the wildlife, but of course the one that interested me most was about the history of the place as a railway yard. We're going to find out what this does. No. I'm not going to make any music with these, am I? There must be a technique, I just don't know what it is. I give up.
Maythorn Monday, we'll travel near or far. We'll take the train